My beloved child, I see you. I see the heaviness in your heart as you contemplate giving up. Those thoughts that whisper to you in the quiet moments when no one else is watching, I hear them. The weight you carry seems too much to bear, and each step forward feels like walking through deep sand, draining what little strength you have left. I know you're tired. So very tired. Your soul is weary from fighting battles that seem endless. You've been strong for so long that you cannot remember what it feels like to rest without worry. The tears you've shed in secret, the prayers that seem to echo unanswered, the hopes that have slowly dimmed like stars fading with the morning light, none of these have escaped my notice. You wonder if anyone truly understands the depth of your struggle. The smile you wear to mask your pain, the brave face you put on for others while you crumble inside, I see beyond these walls you've built. When you lie awake at night, questioning if tomorrow is worth facing, I am there beside you, even when you feel most alone. The disappointments have stacked one upon another. Plans that fell apart, dreams that dissolved, relationships that withered despite your best efforts to nurture them. Each one has taken a piece of your hope, until now you wonder if there's anything left to hold on to. The world has not been gentle with your tender heart, and now you stand at the edge, wondering if surrender is your only option. Some days, just breathing feels like an act of courage. Getting out of bed, facing the mirror, continuing on your path when the destination seems to have vanished. These are not small victories. They are monuments to your resilience, even when you cannot see it yourself. The fact that you are still here, still listening, still seeking light in the darkness, this speaks of a strength that runs deeper than your conscious mind can recognize. Your questions are valid. Why must the path be so difficult? Why does healing take so long? Why do others seem to walk with ease while I struggle with every step? I don't dismiss these questions that echo in your heart. The doubt and confusion are natural responses to pain that has overstayed its welcome in your life. Remember when you were younger, how your spirit soared with possibility, how your heart believed in goodness and your mind envisioned beautiful futures. That essence still lives within you, though it may be buried beneath layers of disappointment and hurt. It is not dead, merely dormant, waiting for the right conditions to bloom once more. The voices that tell you to give up seem so reasonable now. It's too hard, they say. You've tried enough. No one would blame you for walking away. These voices sound like wisdom because they promise an end to your suffering. But my child, these voices do not know the future I see for you. They cannot glimpse the restoration that awaits beyond this valley. You have been measuring your progress by looking at how far you still have to go, not recognizing how far you've already come. The mountains you've already climbed, the rivers you've crossed, the storms you've weathered, these are not small achievements. You are stronger now than when you began, though your exhaustion blinds you to this truth. In your darkest moments, when hope feels like a luxury you can no longer afford, remember that darkness has never had the final word in your story. Dawn has always broken through, even after the longest nights. This principle of life remains true, even now, especially now. I understand the temptation to compare your journey to others. In a world that broadcasts success and hides struggle, it's easy to believe you are the only one faltering. But if you could see into the hearts of those around you, you would recognize familiar pain, similar doubts. The human experience includes suffering for all, though it takes different forms. You are not singled out for pain, nor are you forgotten in it. The weariness you feel isn't just from the burdens you carry, but from carrying them alone. You were never meant to shoulder these weights by yourself. Even the strongest vessels crack under constant pressure. Your exhaustion is not a sign of weakness but a reminder that you need connection, support, and rest, all things I long to provide. There are moments, aren't there, when despite everything beauty breaks through? A kind word from a stranger, the perfect song playing just when you needed to hear it, a memory of love that reminds you why you began this journey. These are not coincidences. They are reminders that grace still finds a way to reach you, even in the shadows. Some wounds take longer to heal because they cut deeper. Some lessons require more time because they transform more completely. Some journeys seem longer because their destinations hold greater significance. The difficulties you face are not punishments but passages, necessary transitions from who you were to who you are becoming. I see how carefully you've tried to do everything right. The effort you've made to follow all the proper steps, to be deserving of breakthrough. My love, your worth has never been dependent on your performance. The help you seek is not a prize to be earned but a gift already extended. Your worthiness was established long before you took your first breath. When your problems seem too complex for solutions, when the knots appear too tangled to unravel, remember that I see with perfect clarity what remains confused to you. The path forward exists, even when you cannot yet discern it. Sometimes the way becomes visible only as you take the next small step in faith. The world rushes by, demanding speed and immediate results. But true transformation rarely conforms to our preferred timelines. The most significant changes often happen slowly, imperceptibly, like the formation of a pearl, the growth of a mighty tree, or the shaping of a canyon by persistent water. Your journey follows these same natural principles. You fear that you've made too many mistakes, that you've squandered too many chances, that somehow you've disqualified yourself from the good things life has to offer. But grace, by its very nature, cannot be exhausted. Second chances are not limited resources. Your capacity for beginning again is as infinite as my love for you. The shame that whispers you should have figured everything out by now is not for me. Wisdom acknowledges that life is a continuous process of learning, growing, and sometimes stumbling. The expectation of perfection is a heavy burden I never placed on your shoulders. Set it down, and feel how much lighter your steps become. I know there are people who didn't understand, who couldn't see your pain, who may have added to your burdens with thoughtless words or absent support. Their limitations do not define your worthiness of care. Their inability to show up doesn't mean you deserve to walk alone. When panic rises like a tide, when anxiety clouds your vision and makes the future seem threatening rather than promising, I am still here. These feelings, while overwhelming, are temporary visitors, not permanent residents in your life. They may speak with loud voices, but they do not speak the final truth about who you are or what tomorrow holds. The part of you that wants to give up is simply tired of hurting. It deserves compassion, not condemnation. It's trying to protect you the only way it knows how. But there are other parts of you too, parts that still hope, still dream, still believe in possibility. These quieter voices need your attention now. Your tears are not signs of weakness but of a heart that cares deeply, that feels profoundly. Never apologize for this sensitivity. It is also the source of your greatest strengths, your empathy, your creativity, your capacity for meaningful connection. A heart that can be wounded deeply can also love deeply. I see you gathering your remaining strength, wondering if it's enough for what lies ahead. Let me assure you, you don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to feel confident or ready. You simply need to be willing to take one more step, and then another. My strength works best in your weakness, filling the gaps where your own resources end. Look back for a moment at previous chapters of your story. Remember times when you thought you couldn't continue, yet here you are. Remember problems that seemed unsolvable, yet solutions emerged. Remember wounds you thought would never heal, yet somehow, even if scars remain, the bleeding stopped. Your history is filled with evidence of resilience. The fact that you're still here, still searching, still hoping against hope, this is not stubbornness or denial. It is evidence of something unbreakable within you, a divine spark that refuses to be extinguished despite all that has tried to dim its light. This persistence is not your burden, it is your gift. My beloved, before you give up, before you decide that this is the end of your story, pause. Take a deep breath. Feel my presence surrounding you, supporting you. The chapter you're in is difficult, but it is not the final page. There is more to your journey than what you can currently see, and you will not walk the remainder of the path alone. My precious one, even in the midst of your darkest hour, I am preparing a new dawn for you. The tears that have watered the soil of your heart have not been wasted. They are nurturing seeds of renewal that will soon break through the surface of your pain. I want you to know that this season of struggle is not your permanent home. It is merely ground you are passing through on the way to restoration. Remember how the winter seems endless until one day the first flower pushes through the snow. That is how renewal comes, not all at once, but in brave, small beginnings that grow stronger with each passing day. The very strength you worry you've lost is being reforged within you, tempered by the fire of your trials into something more resilient than before. I see how you've been searching for signs that things will improve, how you scan the horizon for any hint of change. Sometimes transformation works like the tide, so gradual in its approach that you don't notice the shift until suddenly you look down and realize the waters have begun to rise around your feet. The help you've been praying for is already in motion, moving toward you even when you cannot perceive its approach. There is a sacred alchemy at work in your suffering, pain being transformed into wisdom, wounds becoming wells of compassion, and disappointments revealing paths you might never have discovered in comfort. Nothing is wasted in this process. Every tear, every setback, every moment when your strength faltered, all of it is being gathered and repurposed into the foundation of your renewal. The world will tell you that scars are something to hide, that broken places make you less valuable. But I see your healing wounds differently. They are proof of battles fought, evidence of survival, markers of a journey that has shaped you into someone with depths of understanding that cannot be gained through ease alone. In the economy of grace, nothing of your experience is worthless. Think of how gold is refined, not by gentle handling but through intense heat that separates what is precious from what is temporary. This refinement is not punishment, it is preparation. The fire around you is not consuming what is essential about you, it is revealing it. When you emerge from this season, you will shine with an authenticity that could have been developed no other way. You've been looking at others who seem untouched by struggle, wondering why their paths seem smoother. But appearances deceive, and comparison steals your peace. Each soul walks a unique journey with personalized lessons. The renewal I have for you is tailored specifically to who you are and who you are becoming. It cannot be measured against anyone else's experience. There have been moments when hope flared within you, only to be quickly extinguished by returning difficulties. These brief glimpses were not cruel teases but previews, small tastes of the renewal that is being prepared in fullness. Like dawn breaking gradually over the horizon, these moments will increase in frequency and duration until darkness can no longer maintain its hold. The dreams that seem to have died within you are not gone, they are transforming. Sometimes what we initially desire is just the shadow of a greater fulfillment we cannot yet imagine. The disappointment of what didn't happen is creating space for something more aligned with your true purpose, something better than what you had originally envisioned for yourself. I know you've been faithful in small things when no one was watching, when there seemed to be no reward for your continued effort. These hidden acts of perseverance have not gone unnoticed. They are building blocks of character that will support the weight of the blessings to come. No sincere effort is ever truly lost, even when immediate results remain invisible. The renewal I promise is not just the absence of pain but the presence of purpose. It's not merely surviving your struggles but finding meaning within them and beyond them. It's the discovery that you were made for more than just enduring life. You were created to experience it abundantly, with depths of joy that can only be appreciated by someone who has known sorrow's touch. When a bone breaks and heals properly, the place of fracture eventually becomes stronger than the surrounding bone. This same principle is at work in your spirit. The very places where life has broken you will become your areas of greatest strength, not despite the breaking but because of the unique way healing restructures what was damaged. You've been trying to rush this process, measuring your progress against arbitrary timelines. But renewal follows its own sacred rhythm, one that respects the depth of what you've experienced and the thoroughness of the restoration needed. What feels like delay is often protection, ensuring that your healing is complete rather than merely cosmetic. Remember how often in nature new growth emerges from what appears completely lifeless. The forest after a fire, the desert blooming after rain, the butterfly from its chrysalis. Renewal frequently follows what looks like total devastation. The apparent death of your hopes is not the final word. It is the necessary clearing that precedes new creation. Look closer at your hands. They may be empty of what you once held dear, but they are also open to receive what comes next. This emptiness that feels like loss is also capacity. The very absence that pains you is creating space for blessings that could not enter a life already filled with lesser things. I understand your fear of hoping again. When disappointment has been your consistent companion, expectation feels dangerous. But hope is not the naive denial of reality. True hope acknowledges difficulties while simultaneously recognizing that they do not determine the end of your story. Hope is an act of holy defiance against the tyranny of your present circumstances. The renewal I bring often begins internally before it manifests externally. Long before your situation visibly changes, a shift is occurring within you, new perspectives taking root, fresh strength gathering, different priorities emerging. Pay attention to these subtle interior changes. They are the first evidence of the greater transformation to come. You've been waiting for one dramatic moment of breakthrough, but my renewal more commonly arrives as a sequence of smaller shifts that build upon one another. The dawn doesn't arrive in an instant but through progressive stages of increasing light. Celebrate these incremental changes rather than dismissing them as insufficient. There is purpose in this waiting season, muscles of faith developing that could strengthen no other way, depths of character forming that prosperity alone could never produce. What feels like stagnation is often foundation building for what lies ahead. The invisible work happening now will support visible blessings later. I have not brought you this far to abandon you. Every promise spoken over your life, every dream planted in your heart, every glimpse of purpose you've been given, these remain in effect, unrevoked by your struggles and delays. My words do not lose their power through time or circumstance. They merely await their proper season for fulfillment. The same hands that are holding you now are already reaching into your future, preparing circumstances, aligning opportunities, and removing obstacles. Before you even take your next step, the path ahead is being attended to with loving care. Nothing about your journey forward is random or overlooked. You fear that you've wandered too far, that your mistakes have disqualified you from the renewal I offer. But my restoration has never been dependent on your perfection, only on your willingness to return and receive. No detour has taken you beyond the reach of my redeeming love. No failure has canceled your invitation to begin again. The stories that inspire you most have always included dark chapters, moments when all seemed lost before redemption appeared. Your life follows the same narrative pattern. The current difficulty is not the conclusion but the tension that precedes resolution. The greater the struggle, the more meaningful the restoration that follows. When a master artist restores a damaged painting, they don't just repair what was harmed, they often discover and reveal aspects of the original that were hidden before the restoration process began. Similarly, the renewal I'm working in you will not merely return you to your former state but will uncover facets of your true self that might have remained dormant without this season of restoration. The areas where you feel most broken are precisely where my light can shine most visibly through you. Your vulnerabilities, rather than disqualifying you from purpose, uniquely qualify you to connect with others who suffer similarly. Nothing of your experience will be wasted if you allow it to be transformed into compassion and wisdom for those walking behind you on the path. Renewal isn't always about receiving something new. Sometimes it's about seeing with new eyes what was there all along. Even now, blessings surround you that pain has temporarily hidden from view. As healing progresses, these existing gifts will come back into focus, and gratitude will reawaken for what remains rather than grief for what was lost. My beloved, the promise of renewal is not distant or abstract. It is breathing life into your circumstances even now, working beneath the surface like seeds under winter soil. Though evidence may not yet be visible to your eyes, transformation is already in motion. What seems unchangeable is already yielding to the gentle, persistent pressure of hope being reborn. Your restoration will carry the unique imprint of your journey. Unlike mass-produced items, souls that have been broken and renewed bear the distinctive beauty of having been individually mended with care. The light of hope will shine through the very places where you were once wounded, creating a pattern of beauty that could exist no other way. Trust the process unfolding within you. The discomfort of growth, the stretching of new possibilities, the shedding of what no longer serves your purpose. These sensations are not signs of further damage, but of healing in progress. Renewal rarely feels comfortable in its early stages, but its fruit is worth the temporary disorientation of change. My precious child, now is the moment to rise. Not because all your troubles have vanished or because the path ahead is suddenly clear, but because I am extending my hand to lift you from where you have fallen. This rising is not about your strength but about your willingness to place your trembling hand in mine and allow me to raise you up once more. You need not stand in a single powerful movement. Even the smallest shift from where you've been lying defeated is progress worth celebrating. Sit up first if standing feels impossible. Crawl before you walk. Take one breath before you attempt the next step. These gradual movements toward life may seem insignificant, but they are sacred beginnings of your restoration. I am not asking you to forget the wounds that brought you to this place of surrender. They are part of your story now, evidence of battles fought and survived. But I am inviting you to stop allowing those wounds to determine your direction. They may have shaped who you are, but they do not dictate who you are becoming or where you can go from here. Remember how you learned to walk as a child? Each attempted step included the risk of falling, yet the desire to move forward outweighed the fear of failure. Return to that same courageous curiosity now. You will likely stumble as you regain your footing. This is not failure but part of the natural process of learning to move in new ways after a season of standing still. The weight you've been carrying was never meant to be shouldered alone. As you rise, release these burdens into my care, not because they don't matter, but because I can carry what you cannot. Your healing begins in this act of surrender, acknowledging that some loads are too heavy for human strength alone. Your willingness to let go creates space for new possibilities to enter. Look around you with fresh eyes. Even in this difficult place, helpers have been stationed nearby, some obvious and others disguised in unexpected packages. People positioned to offer a word of encouragement, to extend practical support, to remind you of truths you've temporarily forgotten. Your isolation has never been as complete as it has felt. Connection awaits your readiness to receive it. The voice that has been whispering, "Give up," grows weaker each time you make even the smallest choice to continue. Its power over you diminishes with every act of hope, no matter how tiny. Counter its discouraging message not with grand gestures but with simple, consistent movements toward what nurtures life within you. Small steps taken regularly will carry you further than occasional dramatic leaps. I understand your hesitation to hope again, the way your heart has developed calluses to protect against further disappointment. This caution is natural after what you've endured. But guarding yourself against pain also blocks the entrance of joy. The same openness that makes you vulnerable to hurt is your capacity for experiencing wonder, connection, and love. Don't close the door to one without realizing what else you shut out. The story of your rising will not be perfect or linear. There will be days when you seem to lose ground, when old fears resurface, when doubts crowd out newfound confidence. These setbacks don't invalidate your progress. They are simply part of any significant transformation. The overall trajectory matters more than any temporary regression. Keep your eyes on the horizon rather than on every dip in the path. You've been waiting to feel ready before taking action, but readiness rarely precedes movement in seasons of renewal. More often, the feeling of capability follows the decision to begin despite uncertainty. Your willingness to act before confidence returns is not foolishness but faith, belief that capacity increases through use rather than through waiting for ideal conditions. The world contains much suffering, this is true. But focusing exclusively on what is broken obscures the equally present reality of beauty, kindness, and restoration happening all around you. Train your vision to notice evidence of hope, the stranger's unexpected kindness, nature's persistent renewal, moments of connection that pierce isolation. These are not mere exceptions to darkness but reminders of a deeper truth about existence. As you rise, you will discover that what once seemed like unbearable weakness has been transformed into uncommon empathy. Your familiarity with pain now enables you to recognize it in others, to sit beside them without false comfort or easy answers. This capacity to be present with suffering without needing to fix or flee it is a rare gift in a world prone to avoidance. Your wounds, once healed, become sources of healing for others. The person you were before this valley cannot be reclaimed, and that loss deserves to be honored. But the person emerging now carries wisdom the former self could never have possessed. You are being reformed with greater capacity for depth, nuance, and authentic connection. What feels like destruction is actually transformation, the necessary unmaking that precedes remaking. Your rising will require boundaries, the courage to say no to what depletes you and yes to what restores. This selective stewardship of your energy is not selfishness but wisdom. You cannot pour from an empty vessel, nor can you rebuild while simultaneously allowing forces of destruction free access to your construction site. Guard your healing process with appropriate perimeters. I am not calling you to return to exactly what was before. Some doors have closed permanently, and forcing them open would only damage your recovering spirit. Instead, look for new entrances appearing, unexpected invitations, surprising interests awakening within you, connections forming with people who know nothing of your past struggles. Fresh pathways are being created specifically for this new version of yourself. The shame that tells you it's too late, that others have moved ahead while you've fallen behind, this voice does not speak truth. Human lives unfold in different rhythms, each with unique seasons of flourishing and fallowness. Your timeline is your own, incomparable to anyone else's journey. The fullness of time you're stepping into now couldn't have arrived any sooner than it has. As you rise, expect resistance, not just external but internal. Parts of you have grown accustomed to limitation, finding a strange comfort in lowered expectations and reduced risk. These aspects will protest change even when it's positive. Acknowledge this resistance with compassion rather than frustration. It emerges from self-protective instincts that served a purpose once but now must be gently reassured that safety exists beyond the familiar confines of survival mode. The greatest power often emerges through the greatest vulnerability. By acknowledging where you've been broken, by speaking honestly about your struggles rather than hiding behind pretense, you create authentic connection with others similarly wounded. Your willingness to be seen in both your strength and weakness gives others permission to do the same. This is how healing multiplies, through brave truth-telling that bridges isolated experiences. Remember that reconstruction takes longer than destruction. The process of rebuilding your life cannot be rushed to match the often swift arrival of what damaged it. Be patient with this natural law rather than fighting against it. The foundation being established now, though slow in formation, will support structures of joy and purpose that could never have been built on less substantial ground. I am calling you into a future where your present pain becomes the compost that nourishes something beautiful. Nothing of what you've endured will be wasted if you allow it to be transformed. The tears, the disappointments, the failures, the losses, all can be alchemized into wisdom, compassion, and unexpected joy if you remain open to this sacred recycling of experience. Your story does not end in this valley. Though certain chapters have concluded, the narrative continues beyond what you can currently envision. Trust that the same love that has sustained you through darkness is leading you toward light. The journey ahead contains not just restoration of what was lost but discovery of what you never knew to seek, gifts concealed within detours you would never have willingly chosen. The invitation to rise is also an invitation to simplify, to distinguish between what is essential and what is distraction. Your experience in the depths has clarified your values, revealing what truly matters when extraneous concerns are stripped away. Carry this clarity forward as a treasured insight. Not everything that was part of your life before deserves to be reclaimed as you rebuild. As dawn breaks over your night season, notice how differently familiar landscapes appear in new light. The same circumstances viewed through the lens of hope rather than despair reveal different features, different possibilities. Your external situation may not have changed dramatically, but your capacity to perceive paths forward expands as inner renewal progresses. Look at your hands again. These same hands that have wiped tears from your face are also capable of creating beauty, extending help to others, building what has not yet existed. Your body that has carried such weariness will remember how to dance. Your voice that has been silenced by sorrow will rediscover melody. These capacities lie dormant within you, awaiting only your permission to reawaken. The mysteries of why certain sufferings entered your life may never be fully resolved. Some questions find no satisfactory answers in this lifetime. But meaning can emerge even when explanation remains elusive. Purpose can be forged even from circumstances you would never have chosen. Redemption operates beyond the limitations of human understanding, transforming even what cannot be fully explained. As you take these first steps toward rising again, know that momentum builds upon itself. What requires tremendous effort now will come more naturally with practice. Neural pathways of hope are being established with each positive choice, each moment of courage, each decision to continue despite difficulty. You are literally rewiring your brain through these consistent acts of faith. I am not asking you to deny reality or pretend that serious problems don't exist. True hope is not blind optimism that ignores genuine threats. Rather, it is the stubborn conviction that challenges, while acknowledged, do not have the final word in your story. It is seeing difficulties clearly while simultaneously perceiving possibilities for movement through them. Your rising will inspire others still lying where you once fell. Though you may feel insignificant, your journey toward restoration holds immense power for those watching from their own places of despair. Without realizing it, you become a living testament to the possibility of renewal. Your authenticity about both struggle and progress speaks louder than any polished success story ever could. There is a future version of yourself already standing in the light, looking back at where you are now with profound compassion and understanding. This self knows what you cannot yet see, that every painful step of this journey contributed essential elements to who you will become. From that future perspective, nothing of what you're enduring now is meaningless or wasted. The invitation before you isn't to an instant transformation but to a journey of becoming, a process of daily choices that gradually shift your trajectory from descent to ascent. Each small decision to choose life, to remain open, to take one more step when continuing seems impossible, these accumulate into the miracle of a life renewed beyond what trauma and disappointment predicted. My beloved child, before you decide to give up, remember who you are and whose you are. Remember the strength that flows not from your limited human resources but from connection to something larger than yourself. Remember that renewal comes most powerfully not when we clench our fists in determination but when we open our hands in surrender, creating space to receive what we cannot generate alone. Rise now, not because you feel ready, but because you are called. Rise because continuation honors both where you've been and where you're going. Rise because the world needs the unique gift that emerges only through your particular journey of breaking and mending. Rise because love surrounds and sustains you, even when you cannot feel its presence. Rise because I am here, lifting you with hands that have never let you go and never will.